and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about another one of my mechanic experiences. So this happened about maybe a month and a half ago, somewhere around there. This fine gentleman walked through the door and was, the kind of guy who knew everything about his car. Nobody else knew anything about his car other than this guy. He had some kind of secret information that apparently Hyundai, or I think it was a Hyundai, that Hyundai had told him. And, apparently he was the only one worthwhile telling this information. So he knows exactly what he's talking about at all times. So he walks in and no problem, just an everyday customer, an everyday car. So we thought, and walks in, asks for an oil change. No problem. We're here to do your oil change. That's our job. But can you put this oil in it? Well, there's a difference between oils. There are different types of blends and viscosities and oils you should and shouldn't use. And he wanted to use this like super heavyweight like diesel oil, which is like a 1540. And pretty much it's really thick. It's like when you pour it out, it's almost to the point where it's very viscous, and it's like pouring honey essentially out of a jar versus pouring water out of a jar. It's very thick oil, and he wanted to put that in his Hyundai. Now, the reason being for why he wanted to put that in his Hyundai is because it burns oil a lot. A common problem with Hyundais is that they have really bad oil consumption issues. A lot of the motors that I see from Hyundais always pretty much have no oil next to oil change, so they usually take around 4.5 quarts, around that ballpark. And by the time I see them, sometimes I saw a car the other day that was like 3.5 quarts down and only had 1.5 quarts of oil in it. So that's pretty aggressive for an oil leak. So I understand what this guy was trying to do. He was trying to add a thicker oil to his car to prevent like leaking, or not leaking, to prevent the oil burning as fast because it's so thick. It won't move past the piston rings or the oil separator ring on the piston to essentially burn the oil just as fast as it would a thin oil. So I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to compensate by using a thicker oil to slow down the burning. Problem with that is your engine is not getting lubricated as properly as it would with the correct viscosity oil. That's really thick, and the oil passages on the engine are really tiny. So by the time that oil gets to lubricate that engine, it's going to take a minute, and you're probably going to be starting the motor dry every single time. And those engines are known for oil pump problems. So you thought you were having a problem with your oil pump with the thinner oil, you're going to have a problem with the oil pump with the thicker oil. So we said, sir, unfortunately, company policy and just general rule of thumb, you don't put different types of oil in your car that are, that outlandish, that are really thick like that. It just, you don't do it. Like your engine's burning oil at a severely aggressive rate. Doesn't matter what kind of oil you put in it. It's just, there's something wrong with your engine. But there are ways you can get around it. I'd rather put like maybe a Lucas oil in it, like to kind of, I guess, there are like things you can do with your engine, like special things you can buy off the shelf at like AutoZone and Advanced Auto Parts to like throw inside your engine to see if it'll free up carbon, or it might mess with the rings or something, or slow down a leak, but without affecting the lubrication of your oil. I don't know. I'd rather go down that road than try to dump 1540 in it. And we understand what he was trying to do. We were just kindly trying to explain to him that, it's company policy. We can't just add a different viscosity oil just because, we love to help people out. But when it gets to the point where the customer is very adamant about it and is starting to get angry about it, like, sir or ma'am, like, we'd love to help you, but we really can't, because say we put that oil in it and we go and start it and drive it, and then, I don't know, your engine's not getting lubricated properly, and then it locks up, and then now we're screwed. Now we owe you an engine. Yeah, not good. So we were telling the guy, saying we don't really feel comfortable doing that. We can put a different type of oil in it, same viscosity, which is like, I guess, like a higher mileage engine oil, so it has different types of properties or chemical properties in it that slow down engine oil burning and increase the lubrication properties or something like that. So we recommended that to him. He's like, no, I don't want you to do that. Like, very adamantly, I don't want you to do that. I want you to put this in it. And we're like, all right, dude. It's starting to slowly get to the point where it's like you can just go somewhere else or do it yourself. Because if you're coming to somebody and you know how to do everything on your car, you know, already, and you're coming to a mechanic and we're going to tell you what we think we should do with your car, and you don't agree with it, unfortunately, you're going to have to take your car somewhere else, because we're here to just help and advise you. But if you're so thick-headed to the point where you think you're right all the time about what's going on with your car, then, you know, unfortunately, we can't help you. We can only tell you what we think, and we're going based on the rules we're supposed to follow. You just don't do that. You don't put thicker oil in your car. If it was my own personal car, that's a risk I'd be willing to take. But the fact that this car was like not brand new, but like 2016, 2017, I think it had like around 60, 70,000 miles on it. And it was still in fairly new condition. And we're like, we see blown motors on Hyundais and Kias all the time. So we're like, this is gonna come back. We just kind of know. So that's why we're just telling this guy ahead of time, like, this is what's gonna happen. But he wasn't having it, and he definitely was not happy. I think he wrote a bad review or something like that online, that we didn't put a different viscosity oil than what his car calls for inside his engine. He wasn't happy about it. He ultimately, in the end, gave in, I think, and settled, and someone did his oil change and put the right oil in it. And from that point forward, I don't think we ever saw him again for anything. He never had a history with our company. We searched him in our files, and apparently he never came to us before. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was just that one-off thing. He's like, I'm gonna get an oil change. But yeah, if you think you know everything about your car, fine. But when you make it a priority to tell that everybody else is like wrong for giving you an opinion on to help you with your car, don't be that guy who just like knows it all. Just, we're here to help as a mechanic / technician. You know, if you're having to put such a thick oil in your car because your engine's burning oil that fast, you're better off just putting the right oil in it and then carrying a quart of it with you, and every 1,000 miles just keep adding oil. Like, because there's no reason, you know. The engine's already screwed, so putting a thicker oil isn't going to increase your chances of engine survival. All it does is you're trading one caveat for another. You're slowing down your oil consumption, but you're also ruining your engine's lubrication properties. So you're not really, you know, beating anything by thinking you're getting the upper hand by putting a different oil in it. Hey, but I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, so that's really it. This guy was just really wicked pissed that we wouldn't put the oil in his car that he wanted. And yeah, that's all. See you in the next video.